Hi, it's Dorothy Guinan with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm participating in Janet Fritz's monthly YouTube collaboration, Stretch the Sketch. She's also known as Galaxy Girl Creations on YouTube. In this series, we start with a single page sketch, then we alter it. We either shrink it or we stretch it. Here's a sketch we're playing with in June. It's an Aprilynne Bishop Barrett sketch. It looks to be an 8.5 by 11, and my plan is to stretch it into a 12 by 12 double page spread. Below, you will find a bunch of links to all the other participants, so be sure to check out what they do with this month's sketch. Here's what I'm going to be using. It's mostly material from 49 and Market's Wherever collection. The alphas are from Vicki Boutin. They are thickers, and I brought in embellishments from a few past 49 and Market collections, Everywhere and Countryside. Everything I use, material and tools, will be listed in the description box below. Before jumping in, I want to have another look at this sketch and let you know what I'm thinking. For this one, I'll be creating a 12 by 12 page first, a focal point page inspired by the sketch. Then towards the end of this video, I'll be creating a complementary page to go with it. Each one of these pages can stand alone as a single page layout. I call complementary pages page 2 designs. They are quick and easy to create, and they pair well with more fancy designs like this one on the sketch. If you watch my layout share videos at the end of each month, you probably know I create a lot of page 2 designs. So let's get started. So here's what's on my desk. I have the sketch, of course. I also have a handful of photos. Now, these are either matted or double matted. They are all photos of Lake Louise. I took a trip there last autumn. So here are the papers. I've been working with this Wherever collection for a few months, so I have a lot of bits and pieces that I'm going to be working with today. I also have this tray full of embellishments. Again, most are from the 49 in Market Wherever collection. I have ephemera, chipboard titles. The alphas that I'm going to show you are from Vicki Boutin. That is from a past collection, and they just re-emerged on the market. I absolutely love those. I have some washi tape stickers. I'm going to talk more about all of these embellishments later on in the process when I embellish my page. I also have a few tools here. Those two tree die sets are from Holtz, and that date stamp set is from Close to My Heart. Again, I'll talk about those later in the process. I'm going to set aside most of the photos. I'm going to keep 2 of them because right now what I'm going to do is work on one page. The sketch page, I call that the focal point page. So what I did was I cut up some papers, and I'm covering up a piece of paper that I don't mind covering up. That pink check paper is one that I would probably never use. So I am creating my foundation page with 49 in Market paper on top of it. What I want to do right now is cut out a semicircle. So I'm getting out the Creative Memories custom cutting system, the jumbo circle template, and I'm going to cut out a semicircle from a scrap of paper, again from the Wherever collection. I am using the inside of the template and the red blade. I figure that measures about 8.25 inches. I'm not quite sure. I will write the measurement on the screen like I'm writing all the measurements for my page parts. And in a moment, what you're going to see is I create 2 rings as well using this very same jumbo circle from Creative Memories. If you do not have this custom cutting system, you can use the cutting system of your choice, or you can simply use a dinner plate. So what I'm going to do right now is cut out some rings. So I'm using the same Creative Memory system, starting with the blue blade, which is the furthest out from the template. Without moving the template, I come in with the green blade, and the very same thing. I'm not moving the template. I'm coming in with the red blade. What I've just done here is create some rings, each measure about 1/8 of an inch in width, and I've cut out 2 of them. So there you have it. I had a little bit of trouble there, but no big deal. So now I have all of my page parts, and I'm going to cover up this pink paper. So basically you can see how I'm going. I will be having that border over there on the left-hand side of this page with that semicircle peeking out from underneath it. The same thing for those 2 rings. Before I adhere this to the foundation page, what I'm going to do is add a bit of ink. The ink I'm using is Morning Mist by VersaFine Claire. I ink up the blue paper, that newsprint paper, and the yellow or gold semicircle. I don't ink up the rings. They are just too delicate. And a note about those rings, obviously that is optional. That is not on the sketch. I think it adds just a little something to the layout, and you're going to see when I place them. I place them kind of messy on top of the circle, and I do that on purpose. Another way you could add something to this circle is to stitch around it. So here I go adhering everything down. I start by adhering the biggest chunk of paper. Then I'm going to adhere these 2 pieces together to create a border that's going to go on the left-hand side of the page. But before adhering that, I'm going to adhere my semicircle along with those 2 rings. When I go to adhere those rings, what you're going to see me use is an adhesive called Sticky Specks by Ecstasy Crafts. It's an adhesive I frequently use when I adhere detailed pieces to a page. So you can see I'm lifting that white paper, placing the tiny ring on top of the yellow paper that's beneath, and that has a stickiness to it, and the stickiness lifts onto the detailed piece. So that's just a fun way to adhere detailed pieces. You're going to see me use it later on in the process. I'm going to give you a close-up of these rings in a moment just to give you an idea how I've placed them imperfectly around the circle. Again, that is on purpose. All I want to do is just add a little something to that circle. Now what I'm going to do is adhere that border on top of it. So at this point, I am pretty much following the sketch. The border that I'm placing in blue here pretty much mimics that border of photos that you see on the sketch. Now I'm going to change things up here because I use only 2 photos and I have 2 vertical photos. Now if I really wanted to follow that sketch, I could have placed those vertical photos on that border, one on top of the other. But you're going to see I kind of place them side by side and I overlap them a bit. I'm going to do that in a minute. And what that's going to do is kind of change up the look of this sketch, even though if you look at the bones of the sketch, it is definitely the sketch that is my inspiration. So there I go, kind of placing my photos side by side. Now I'm showing you my embellishments. So here's the title. I love those alphas from Vicki Boutin. Again, it's an older collection of alphas that just re-emerged on the market. You can use them as is. What I did was I colored in the alphas with that Stampin' Blends marker from Stampin' Up. I think the color is Pretty Peacock, something like that, and I really love how that looks. Now I'm showing you the die cut tree. So I have 2 die sets from Tim Holtz that I use all the time. I've had them for a few years. One of them has 2 different trees in it. The other one has a tree line. And I cut out a bunch of them with scraps. It's from an actual Christmas collection, both of those, but I use them year round. Now I'm showing you my narrowed down selection of ephemera. Again, most of it from the Wherever collection, but a few pieces from other collections. I also have washi tape stickers from the Wherever collection. And what I'm going to do right now is start building my clusters. Now, if you look at the sketch, there are clusters in 3 spots. I'm going to put them on 2, which is a very common approach for me when I create a focal point page like what I'm doing here right now. And I plan to stretch it into a double page spread with a complementary page. Often I will create only 2 clusters on the focal point page and reserve one of them for the complementary page, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. you can see I started by placing those trees down, then I placed the photos. I placed that tree line along the bottom almost like a shelf. Then I placed my title, Lake Louise, on top of it. I tucked in a few other pieces. That little road sign is actually from the 49 and Market Countryside collection. I tucked in a few tags behind Lake Louise and a few more tags up above that photo. So I'm just kind of playing around with placement a bit. I do actually quite like how this looks, but I decide what I'm going to do is just kind of play around with one of the tags. You're going to see me do that in a moment. I'm going to get out a stamp set from Close to My Heart that I've been using quite a bit lately. I'm the type of person that I can bring out a tool that I haven't used in a long time, then suddenly I'm using it all the time. And this stamp set falls into this category. I actually have two stamp sets there. I have one from Close to My Heart. That one is what I'm going to start by using. It's basically a date stamp set. It's called Today's Date. And basically there are abbreviations for each one of the months in a circle. That's what I'm doing right now. The ink I'm using for that is Morning Mist by VersaFine Clair, the same ink I use to ink up the edges of my papers. Now what I'm going to do is use the black ink again from VersaFine Clair, and I'm using this stamp set from P13. It has different date things on it, including numbers. So I basically stamped 23, indicating the year underneath. So I really like how that looks. Now what I'm going to do is start adhering my clusters. So I'm starting by adhering the bigger pieces and the ones that go at the bottom of the cluster. In this case, it's those detailed trees that I cut out with the Tim Holtz die. I'm using once again that adhesive from Sticky Specks, called, I should say it's from Ecstasy Crafts. It's called Sticky Specks. Once the trees are down, I'm adhering my photos because they kind of overlap the trees. Then what I will do is adhere that tree line at the bottom. For that one, I'm just using regular adhesive because that's a little bit more solid. And to me, it looks like a great shelf to place my title, Lake Louise. Now I'm tucking in a few more elements, including that little road sign and the tags, including the one that I stamped on. I will start adhering my title and I will continue that off camera. These are chipboard alphas, so I like to add extra adhesive. I start by using my regular adhesive, but then I bring in my liquid adhesive and I continue this off camera. Once I finish doing my title, then I will come in and add a few more pieces just above the photo there. Now at this point, I must tell you, I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing a hit of turquoise in the cluster at the top of the page. I also feel like I need another hit of turquoise at the bottom of the page. Even though I'm aware of this, I make the choice to wait until the end of the layout to add these hits of turquoise. And the reason why I'm doing this is when I create a double page spread that starts with a focal point page like this, and then I complete it with a complementary page, I like to wait until the end to add my finishing touches. It's just a great opportunity to bring the two pages together. So as you can see, I've moved on to page 2, the complementary page design. I've already put together the foundation layer, which is 2 chunks, which measure about 5.5 by 12, and that middle strip measures 1 inch by 12 inches. This gives me place to add 6 blocks that measure basically 5 by 3.5, or it could be 5.25 by 3 3/4. I'm going to be putting 5 photos. The 6th block is going to be for journaling and embellishing. I'm also showing you that for 2 of my blocks, I am going to be adding photo flips, basically little folded over pieces of cardstock that I adhere behind the photos, where I will add extra photos. I do that a lot. It's just a way to house extra photos on my layout. I am showing you that again, that 6 block, the one there in the middle on the right-hand side of the second page, that's where my journaling is going to go. I just opened up one of those photo flips. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that. So that will be listed and linked below. It's basically a piece of paper that's folded in two. Folded in two, it ends up being the same size as the photo with a mat. I adhere the photo with mat on top of it, and you may have noticed I placed a special adhesive behind the photo flip. It's an adhesive I frequently use when I adhere interactive elements to the page. Again, these are going to be hidden photos. It's just a place for me to store extra photos on my layout, and there is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how I do that. So that's going to be listed and linked below. So you can see off camera, I adhered all 5 photos, and now I'm ready to work on that middle block. I find myself a piece of ephemera. I had 2. I decided to go with the gold one there because it matches the gold on the opposite page. I did my journaling in advance on vellum, printed it out on the computer. I did play around with that a little bit because I knew I would be placing that tree line underneath. You may notice towards the bottom of my journaling there is a little space. I did work on that a little bit before this video. So I placed the adhesive towards the bottom of the vellum that I knew would be covered up with the tree line. So that's what I'm about to adhere in a moment. I also plan to layer up some of the individual trees on the left-hand side of that block. Basically, what I'm doing for this block here is I'm adding my journaling, but I'm also adding a repetition of the embellishment cluster that's on the focal point page. And that is how I approach creating a complementary page. Basically, I'm using the same paper, the same material, and when I create the one cluster here, I am repeating the cluster that is over on the focal point page. So you can see once again, I am adhering those trees with that sticky Specks adhesive. I'm kind of tucking it behind that tree line. Once I'm happy with this, what I am going to do is, you're going to see me get out my tiny attacher stapler in a minute, and I do staple the top part of that vellum just so that it's not flapping around. It also gives a little bit of texture to the layout as well. I'm not sure exactly when I do it. I think I get it out in a minute, because once that is stapled, then what I will do is adhere that block to my foundation page, and then I will continue adding embellishments to it. So there I go, adhering my block down. Now for the embellishments, what I often like to do when I create complementary pages is to repeat a little bit of the title. So I did the same thing I did with the alphas on the opposite page. I colored them in. So this page, it has 2023, the year, and in order for that to stand out a bit, I added another tag because I have tags in 2 other places on the opposite page. So this way it repeats the tags in a 3rd spot. It also helps highlight the year 2023. So now I am down to finishing touches. I want to see if there's anything I can add to these 2 pages to continue to bring them together. Now I knew I wanted to add a hit of turquoise to that top cluster over on the, at this point it's the right page. You're going to see in the end I do switch up the direction of the pages. Honestly, they can go on either side, it doesn't matter. And don't forget, each one of these pages can stand alone as a single page layout. In the end, I did decide to put 2 trees up in that cluster on the right-hand side. And now what I'm doing is just looking for tabs for those photo flips on the page that's on the left. Now I already had tabs, but they were in that newsprint and they didn't show up, but I did find a scrap of that yellow paper, the same one that's in that jumbo circle. So I know off camera I'm going to create myself a few more tabs and put them there. You'll see those at the very end. Now I'm testing out a bit of twine. It's just basically neutral baker's twine. I like that. So off camera I will add them to the other tags as well. That's on the focal point page. Now at this point, I want another hit of turquoise at the bottom around the word Lake Louise. I find this car, but it's from another 49 in Market collection. It's pale blue. I don't like the pale blue, but I like the idea of it being a car because this was a road trip. So I'm taking this bold move of taking that Stampin' Blends marker that I used on the Alphas and coloring that car. I didn't know if it was going to work, but in the end, I really quite like it. So I am going to adhere that to the page as well. And that is it. So off camera, I continued adding twine to the tags. I also added tabs to the photo flips, and I stapled in 2 more spots. I stapled the tag that houses the year and the hexagon that's just above the photo on the focal point page. It says details on it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Don't forget to check out all the other Stretch the Sketch participants. Their links are listed below. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.